Hey there peeps, today we're going to be painting the Orc Berserker from the Reaper Bones miniatures range to Ultimate Standard. First thing you want to do is grab yourself a scalpel or other sharp blade and remove the casting lines from the model. Be very careful when you do this and always cut away from yourself. Round off any areas you may have shaved flat with a file. The Ultimate Level pack comes with a base, some sand and two nifty little skulls. Take some super glue and stick them to his base. Cover the base with super glue and then sprinkle the sand over. Dip him in some salt to fill in any of the gaps and then glue the skulls on top. Today we're going to be using the colours Pure Black, Leaf Green, Pale Green, Lemon Yellow, Shadowed Steel, Honed Steel, Polished Bone, Khaki Highlight, Oiled Leather, Dark Highlight and Bloodstain Red. First off, I've base coated the model in Pure Black and then in a 50-50 mix of Pure Black and Shadowed Steel. I've used my airbrush for this, but you can do it by hand if you like. You mustn't use any spray primers on this model as it can react badly with this type of plastic. After recoating the base black, we need to dry brush the sand. Take some Pure Black and pop it on your palette, mix it 50-50 with Khaki Highlight. Get an old brush, wipe most of the paint off on an old tissue and just lightly brush it across his base. Add a little polished bone to this mix and repeat. Next, take honed steel and wipe most of the paint off on your tissue and use this to dry brush his chainmail. Stick to downward strokes to allow the shadows to become more apparent. We're going to start the layers by painting his armour first. Take shadowed steel and use this to paint the upper portion of each armour plate, leaving the base coat in the recesses. When it comes to doing the sword, concentrate on the upper surface of the blade. Next, repeat this process with a 50-50 mix of shadowed steel and honed steel, concentrating your paint on the upper portion of each armour plate where it catches the light. Finish off by painting pure honed steel along the top edge of each plate and the sharp edge of his sword. To create the illusion of rust, we need to make a wash of 50-50 oiled leather and lemon yellow. Heavily dilute this with water until it has the consistency of milk and brush this into the crevices and around the rivets on his armour, allowing surface tension to draw it into the shadows where grime would gather. Base coat his leather areas with dark highlight, like his kilt, his belt and his armour straps. Next we want to make a wash of dark highlights with a small amount of pure black added in. Dilute it with water and add a tiny bit of dish soap to break the surface tension and wash this over the leather areas so it settles in the shadows. This will take a while to dry, so go catch up with something on Netflix and return when it's fully dried. Once that is dry, relayer the leather with dark highlights, avoiding the shadowed areas where the wash is gathered. Layer this up again with a 50-50 mix of oiled leather and dark highlights, leaving some of the previous colour showing in the shadows. Now take pure oiled leather and paint a highlight line at the edge of each piece of leather. Repeat this on the most extreme points of the model with a 50-50 mix of oiled leather and khaki highlight. Now we need to base coat his skin. Mix leaf green with a small amount of pure black and use this to base coat the skin. Add a little more leaf green and paint the muscles, leaving the previous colour in the places where each muscle touches the next. Layer up using pure leaf green, painting only the top half of each muscle to represent a light source coming from above. Keep repeating this process, using a mix of leaf green with a dash of pale green mixed in, and then again with a little more pale green. Each time painting a smaller area of the muscles and the more prominent parts of his face. Use pure pale green to paint his lips, chin, ears and his knuckles. And finally, make a mix of 50-50 pale green and lemon yellow on your palette and just use this to paint his lips, the tip of his nose and his ears. Paint the skulls, his teeth and fingernails with a 50-50 mix of khaki highlight and oiled leather. Progressively add more khaki highlight to this mix and paint the upper surfaces of the skulls and each individual tooth and fingernail. Use pure khaki highlight to finish this stage, painting only the brow ridges on the skull and the very tips of his teeth and nails. Use polished bone to paint the teeth on the skulls. While we're using this colour, we can paint a little bit of wear and tear on his leather in select patches, just by feathering the paint onto areas where it would suffer damage. Finally, use Bloodstain Red to paint his eyes, and if you want to really make them glow, you can mix 50-50 Bloodstain Red and Lemon Yellow and use this to paint his pupils with a really small brush if you're feeling confident. Paint some blood splatter on his sword, and with that the model is done. I recommend varnishing it at this point to preserve your hard work. There are plenty of great spray and brush on varnishes on the market. Now don't forget to like and subscribe, check out our other videos, and we'll see you next month.